What's good, my beautiful people? Hope y'all are doing well. Hope you're all having a great day. I just wanted to drop by for some good news, despite everything you might hear from the media and what the world is trying to tell you to do and trying to keep you in fear. I live in California. We're out here in beautiful, sunny California in the beautiful nature. The current California statistics are about 296,000 cases of COVID, and we have about 6,700 deaths. And this is as of July 9th that these statistics were taken down. So if we do a little bit of math and we go ahead and we divide those numbers, we'll find that the current mortality or lethality rate is 2.26%. Which essentially means, given the numbers are correct, and that's another story, that if you do contract COVID, you have about a 2% chance of dying. And I've been looking at these numbers, and they're actually going down day by day, which is good news. And that's because more and more people are finally getting tested. But the deaths seem to not be spiking so much. Funny enough, the flu season is generally from December, November, all the way to April. That's where we'll have a lot of the flu deaths. That's where things will spike. Influenza, pneumonia, those numbers seem to be really high. Well, it's funny because the numbers were pretty high. High. They were pretty high all the way up into March and April, and they've seemed to dwindle off, kind of like the flu. Now, I'm not saying this is the flu, although it is an influenza, it is a novel coronavirus, and it is an infectious disease that does affect the respiratory system, and it has very, very similar symptoms to the flu. But anyways, that's besides the point. The point is, it seems to be that the media is making a much bigger deal than they should be. Go figure, like they always try to do. Trying to divide people and keep people in fear. It must be, in election year, some shit like that going on. Oh yeah, that's right, it is. And of course, it's always left versus right and blue versus red, and we go back and forth and and we try to keep people divided, and maybe it'll dwindle out, after election year. But this is a different story. This is a way more global thing going on, and it is reshaping society as we know it. And we need to be careful. We shouldn't just give up every little right that we have out of fear, because that's when rights are taken away. You can go back to many of the events that we've had, and generally when something bad, however that bad thing happened, that's always a different story, they always implement rights for our safety to try to keep us safe. So anyways, and the global statistics are around like 4% lethality for COVID. And the United States, if you live in the United States, are right around 4% as well. And 4% really? Were we really shut down the whole world for that much? Suicide rates have gone up, child abuse rates have gone up, domestic abuse. The sheriff from Orange County was interviewed saying that the 911 operator was just going off the hook. And it's not from people dying of COVID. The funny thing is, if it was really bad, let's just use logic, okay? I know some of us may have somebody that's affected, and my heart goes out to anybody that's affected by anything, because it's hard. But unfortunately, death is a part of life, and we all will leave this planet in this specific physical incarnation at one point or another. It's gonna happen. But just use your brain. Do you see the ambulances coming and picking people up left and right? Are the hospitals full? Why did we lay off thousands and thousands of medical workers? And I know certain hospitals have been full, a little full, closer to capacity at specific times, and not a single divert order was ever issued in the United States. I don't know if any of you guys know what a divert order is, but the whole reason for the social distancing and for the masks and all this stuff, this was basically to make sure the hospitals don't get overwhelmed. And if a hospital is overwhelmed, they would issue a divert order. So I'm a paramedic, you're sick, I drive to the house, I pick you up. My normal hospital is right off of Main and 3rd, and all of a sudden I get a call saying, yo, you gotta divert, you gotta go elsewhere, okay? That's a divert order. That's when a hospital's so full that they can no longer take patients. Okay, well that didn't happen one time, not a single time. Not one divert order in the United States, at least to my knowledge, was not ever issued. And they've never talked about that. They've talked about them being near capacity, and then a lot of times you actually go to the hospitals and people do their own due diligence and they look and they're actually not that full. So yeah, don't let these numbers and don't let the specific statistic that the media is currently portraying fool you. Just because they're talking about a rise in cases doesn't mean that it's all of a sudden getting worse. But even if we play along in fairyland and they're infectious disease and we, take it for what it is, well, of course, like any influenza, it's going to spike at one point or another. But more importantly, those numbers are going up because people are now getting tested. So the deaths are staying at a certain level, they're still happening. But all of a sudden tests are coming back and people are getting it and people are getting it and people are getting it and the numbers are going up, but the deaths aren't going up. Okay, well that should be good news. That means people are getting it, they're building a natural immunity to something, and they're not dying. And more importantly, this is what you all need to keep in mind, okay? Like any influenza or any flu, okay? We all, not all, but we get these things, and many of us have a strong enough immune system that we fight it off. Just to basically understand what a virus does, for those of you that don't understand, a virus is created within the body, okay, and that's another story. I'll go into environmental theory versus germ theory maybe in another video. That's a whole nother video, and you can almost unlearn everything you think you know about infectious disease because you just know part of it, okay? And I'm not saying that there's not a lot of validity and truth to germ theory, because there has to be, and there most likely is, and most likely it's a combination of environmental and germ theory. But anyways, I'm getting off track. People have gotten COVID. Some of these tests are where they test for a live virus or they test for the antibodies. And when they do the test for the antibodies, some of these people are going in, they're getting tested, and they're realizing, yeah, you have the antibodies, you had COVID. Okay, well that's a good thing, okay? If you have the antibodies for COVID and you didn't get sick, well, that means your body built up a natural immunity. We should be portraying that for what it really is. That's actually a good thing. You want your body to build up natural immunity to things, so if you ever come into contact with them again, you can fight them off. But essentially, I think I didn't fully answer my thing, what I was saying. A virus is created within the body to destroy toxic cells. So basically, whatever you have in your body that's toxic, your body, whether you want to believe it is created within you or you get that infectious disease, your body then uses that virus and it eats up toxic waste in the body. Now, obviously, as you get older and you've been eating genetically modified food and high fructose corn syrup and you drink aspartame and you don't give a shit about your diet and you don't exercise and you fill your head with garbage and your mind really isn't where it needs to be, you essentially build up a lot of toxic waste within you. So what happens is, well, sickness gets worse and worse as you get older. And as we all know, eventually our bodies are just going to go, whether it's from too much toxic waste in our body or whether it's from some other type of ailment. None of us live forever. So that's what a virus does. A virus is essentially used or utilized within the body to get rid of toxic waste. So it's actually a good thing. We're all full of, viruses and bacteria, and, you have all kinds of stuff living within you and outside of you. We live in a symbiotic universe and everything is all connected. So what they don't tell you, though, is they're not giving you information. And USC actually came out with a study about this, saying how there's way more asymptomatic people than we think. So essentially there are way more people that have contracted COVID than you and I even know about. Whew, it's hot out here. It's like 80 degrees out here. We're just walking in the sun. Get you some nature, guys. Get out in nature. Get out of that fucking house, okay? Live life, okay? There's always gonna be something that's gonna kill you. Anyways, USC does a study, and there's a lot of asymptomatic people, way more than, they originally thought. So what that means is the cases that you're seeing, that 296,000 that I originally talked about, that means that number is actually much higher. Those are confirmed cases. Those are people that actually went out and went to the hospital or got tested. And what they don't tell you too is those cases, some of those are antibody cases. They count both of them, by the way. So they count, let's say you went and had one and it shows you got the live virus within you. Okay, well that counts as one. Let's say you went back a couple weeks later and you feel better and you got the antibody test. Well, that counts as 2. You don't just count as 1, they count them as 2. So of those people that are actually on those numbers, those aren't actually all the same. They're not all different people. Some of them are actually the same people. And I've actually even heard stories about, specifically, I'm gonna call out CVS here, because I've heard people that go and apply for a test at CVS and they don't even go in to get it, and then a few days, weeks later, they get a little envelope saying, thank you for your test, you show positive for COVID. And they're like, what? I didn't take a test. There's people that are getting these tests and they're not even swabbing themselves. They're swabbing the counter. They're not swabbing anything, and it's coming back positive. That's a whole nother story too. These tests, they've shown to be 50 to 80% false positives. And even of those deaths, California seems to have lower deaths than other parts of the country for various reasons. We're more spread out. Also, we don't have, or we seem to have at least a couple more doctors that are standing out and talking about this more and kind of know this is bullshit. So as far as the COVID deaths go, I'm sure many of you have heard, and I've talked about this before, there are incentives involved. So if they put you on a ventilator, it's like 39 grand. If they mark you positive with COVID, it's 13 grand. So you guys need to understand incentives, okay? I know all you out here saying like, oh, they're undercounting, you guys, these hospitals aren't undercounting. There might be a couple that are undercounting, but if there's an incentive and they can mark you down as that, you bet your ass they're gonna mark you down as COVID. They're getting extra money from it, okay? Anytime you have an incentive, people are not gonna follow the rules, okay? They're not going to. In fact, I'll drop a little video in the description just to show you what incentives actually do and how they've been used throughout history, and how anytime there's incentives, there's always fraudulent numbers. It's the way things work. So even of the deaths we have, even if we double these deaths, okay? If we double these deaths that we have according to the numbers, and we know the numbers are in at least a little part bullshit and they're not 100% true, that's for damn sure, okay? Because when they mark a COVID death certificate, you have to understand that they don't have to prove that the person died from COVID, okay? So first of all, you could have contracted COVID with a positive test. You could have died from some other thing, such as heart disease or any other little thing that you have, and that takes you out. You need to learn that when you die from or with something towards the end of your life, that doesn't mean that that's what actually killed you, okay? If you die from the flu, you die from pneumonia, you die from something like that, and you're 80 years old, and they're gonna mark that on your death certificate. Okay, but they're not gonna talk about your, diabetes or your heart disease or all the waste that you have within you and your, terrible diet and you're not exercising. They need to write for statistical reasons what they think that took you out. Know that what they write down and what they say that took you out isn't necessarily what took you out, okay? It might have been the little kick over the edge, it pushed you off the edge, but it's not what killed you, okay? What actually takes a human down, sometimes it can be very obvious. You get in a car accident, your brain hits the inside of your skull, you die from trauma, okay? That's pretty obvious. There's a lot of pretty obvious things there, okay? But a lot of times when it comes to something that internally kills our body, you guys need to understand that death certificates really are it's just their educated guess. They don't know for sure, okay? Doctors aren't God. They don't know everything. And even the current understanding of the body is so limited. They don't know everything, okay? So you have, first of all, how death certificates work, okay? They're just essentially educated guesses. They don't really know. A lot of times they're pretty good. I'm not here to discredit doctors or anything like that. I know that they do their best, and most of them are out there for us and they're doing everything that they can. But you have to know that doctors will even talk about, and I'll put another video in the description of a specific doctor talking about how they're just basically educated guesses, that these death certificates are marked not only, so normally when you do a death certificate, you have to have fairly reasonable proof, okay? Well, the CDC has told doctors, and they all received a letter when this first started, that they can mark a COVID death as COVID presumable. They don't need a positive test, okay? Now you would think even with the positive test, okay, I'll let you add that in the COVID death certificates because, it's probably something we should investigate. That doesn't mean they died from COVID, okay? So not only are the people that died with COVID being added in, but people that are presumably, so you could have had heart disease, you could have had any other illness that, essentially contributed more to your death, but maybe had something that looked like COVID, and they're gonna add that down. And I'm not gonna even get into the conspiracy stuff, because if you guys really wanna go look at people's stories, there's a lot of stories out there. There's 17-year-old boys who committed suicide and they got marked with COVID. There are people that died in car accidents. I mean, there's tons of stories of people literally going to the Supreme Court, and I don't know about the Supreme Court, but actually arguing these in court and actually having them overturned because they actually weren't, actually COVID deaths. But, so just know, guys, take everything with a grain of salt, okay? Don't be ruled by the media, okay? Remember the television tells lies to your vision. If that's what you're using, if you're sitting here reading New York Times and Washington Post and what you think are legitimate and, CDC sources and stuff like that, you need to do more research. You can take them with a grain of salt and you can use them as, a basis to start with. But you need to go talk to doctors, okay? You need to message somebody that works and lives in New York and that, handles these patients. Listen to people that are speaking up against the narrative. In fact, I'll drop another video too. It's a doctor from Minnesota who called out this bullshit a long time ago, right in the beginning of it, okay? So you have governors that put COVID infected patients into nursing homes where obviously they're immune compromised. Which, by the way, I don't know the exact number, but it's like 40% of the deaths these are people that died in nursing homes. So, which is pretty much murder. I mean, come on, if you're gonna knowingly infect, people in a nursing home with something that you don't fully understand, that seems to be killing people, why would you do that, okay? Why would you not use all these camps, these FEMA camps and all this other stuff and different hospitals? You cleared out all the hospitals, you laid off 40,000 workers. Why would you not use that extra space to isolate people, to isolate old people, and to keep them away from nursing homes, okay? That's a whole nother thing. I'm not even gonna get into the systematic murder of states like Washington and New York and all these, very questionable things and procedures they did to do that. That's a whole nother story. And as you guys can tell, I've been away for a little bit, not making videos and stuff like that. I've just really, been enjoying nature and trying to live life. I mean, you get on social media, I almost don't use social media on election year. It's hard not to, especially with this. This is something that, people just need to wake up. You guys really need to understand that everything that you're being told is not what you think it is, okay? And it's sad because people are arguing with everybody now. I mean, I see families are going against each other, the workforce is going against each other, and it's just crazy. They're trying to, fire people for not wearing masks, and that's a whole nother thing. Okay, guys, these masks, you guys really think they work, okay? Think about it. Go look at what a virologist wears when they want to protect themselves from a virus. It ain't a fucking bandana, okay? It ain't the little cheap rave mask that you bought for fucking $10 that has your favorite band's name on it, okay? That doesn't do shit, okay? An N95 mask, okay? Those are the good ones. I know some of you might be wearing them, but most of you are wearing a cloth mask that are sitting here, yelling at other people for not wearing masks. Okay, an N95 mask has smaller pores than a cloth mask. Okay, you need to know the size of the actual COVID virus. The size of the COVID virus is, I forget exactly the size, it's like 0.02 to 0.05 microns, very, very small. But anyways, the N95, the pores are 30 times larger than the actual virus. So that means the little COVID particle is 30 times smaller than your N95 mask. 30 times. So do you think that's honestly gonna stop it? No, it's not. Just use your brain, okay? Literally, a mask is essentially trying to stop mosquitoes with a chain link fence. It's not gonna work, okay? Especially with healthy people. Now, I do see you can have some argument if you're sick and obviously you think you have COVID and you are gonna go to the grocery store and you're gonna be in a crowd of people. Okay, I get it. You know what I mean? Wear a mask, cover up, do your best to not spread whatever it is that you think you have, okay? But healthy people, I'm sorry. You're breathing straight air out. It's absolutely ludicrous. The fact that it is now like this like staple of society that if you don't follow that you're somehow this like evil person that's killing people. Let's not talk about the immune system. Let's not talk about vitamin D. Let's not talk about all this other stuff that makes a much bigger difference, okay? And you can go look at the videos. There's tons of videos. You put an oxygen sensor, it drops the oxygen. They do carbon dioxide tests, it raises the carbon dioxide. You can go look at the OSHA levels, 19.5% for the atmosphere. Even our own government admits that it is a low environmental oxygen level for the space between the mask and your mouth, okay? It's not good for you. It is slowly ruining your immune system. And sure, a lot of you are young and you think you're doing the right thing and you're like, oh, it's fine. Yeah, and I know that doctors wear them, but know why they wear them, okay? They wear a surgical mask to keep the environment that they're working in sterile. So that means they know it's not gonna protect them from getting a virus. They're not fucking dumb. They're doing it so when they're opening a wound and they're putting you back together, that they don't spit inside your fucking blood and get the environment completely dirty and unsterile. That's what they're for. And by the way, when a surgeon goes to use a mask and they're doing an operation, they don't just wear one, they wear 3 or 4 sometimes. They are constantly changing them, keeping them clean, making sure that the environment is sterile. That's the purpose of them. You don't wear a mask, and I see everybody, they got them on their fucking rearview mirrors, driving around, been wearing them for weeks. Sure, you might change one every other day or something like that, but come on. You're creating a moist environment right there. You want to talk about something that's going to trap viruses. It's going to be that moist environment that you're breathing on that's catching things. It ain't going to stop a fucking virus. Get real here. And again, the whole premise of we're gonna stop this infectious disease and we need to stop the spread. You guys, you're not gonna stop shit. You're gonna slow it down maybe, okay? But you're not gonna stop it. Sure, you can be careful with, immune compromised people and, when you're sick, do your best to do everything that you can, but we need to focus on internally, the environment, because that's what matters, okay? You can get that virus, and again, this would be different if we're talking about something, some anthrax or something that you get and you're fucked. Or I always use the example, if this was Chernobyl, okay, where, radiation doesn't give a fuck about your immune system. It doesn't give a shit if you got a strong immune system, if you're 2 years old, if you're 3 years old, it doesn't fucking matter. Radiation is gonna fucking destroy you. It's gonna tear you apart, it does not matter. And that has an actual, measurable, dangerous distance that you can use to find out what's going on. That, I get it. We had something like that, we'd be treating this completely different. But they're literally scaring you off of something that you've never even seen, okay? Something that, even with the current blown out numbers, has a death rate of 2%, of 3%, 4%, 5%, but we know it's lower, okay? Because they don't factor in asymptomatic people, and even when those studies come out, they don't talk about it. But guys, just look how they're always so back and forth. 1 minute the Surgeon General tells you, don't wear a mask, guys, it's only for medical professionals. Okay, the World Health Organization says the same thing, don't wear a mask, guys. Fauci says the same thing, don't wear a mask, guys. All of a sudden, they all change their mind. Okay, did the science change? Did something change? No, they're trying to control you. You guys have to understand the mask is a symbol of submission. They're trying to see how many people are willing to submit and not think for themselves. So, anyways, guys, do your own research, okay? Just keep an open mind. It's obviously election year. Every single time with all the shit going on, they're always trying to divide us. Don't let them divide us, okay, guys? We are the majority. We are one. We get to control the world, okay? It's our world, not them. Don't let the elites win, okay? Because you have to ask yourself, okay? This is the main question that it really all stems down to, okay? Do you want to live in a big government where you believe the state has the right to control you, to where they own your body? And this goes with everything. This goes with abortion, this goes with infectious disease, this goes with vaccines, this goes with food. Do you think that they have the right to tell you what to do? Do you want to put your trust into them? Because if you do, there's no point in us ever having this conversation. If you believe that the government and these health organizations have your best interest in mind and you want them to control society, you want them to make decisions for you because you're too stupid and don't want to use your own brain, okay? If you want them to do that, then that's fine. We can't have a conversation, okay? But I personally believe in freedom. I think humans get to make that decision on their own. I think if you want to vaccinate your child, you're for it. I think we should educate people on what everything does, but I think at the end of the day, we get to make the decisions. We are sovereign, free beings that have the right and the pursuit of happiness and the right to go about this earth unharassed and not be controlled in what we think and what we do. So that's what it all stems down to. If you are somebody that believes that the government has full control of that and they get to choose, they get to tell you to wear a face mask, they get to tell you to stay indoors, they get to tell you to not do this, they get to force a vaccine on you, okay? You can do that, but then you can also go look at countries that do that. If you want to go live in communist China, go for it. Go ahead and go do it. That's all up to you. You can. Okay? Go look at other places where they do implement this sort of forced, medical procedure and medical tyranny on people. You guys know that you think we have it bad in America. You know that there are countries out there where they are so racist that they castrate Muslim women, that they force them to get abortions, okay? You guys need to understand that it's not like that here in the United States yet, okay? Thank God. But if you keep giving away your freedoms, if you keep letting them do whatever it is that they want, it will get to that point. Now, I think that America is a big enough melting pot and we're a great nation. I don't think that we'll ever, do fucked up shit like that to Muslim people, to anybody, to any creed, religion, color. I hope to God it will never get like that, and I don't think it will. But other countries are, and you have to know that those other countries are because their governments are strong enough and the people are oppressed enough that they allow it, okay? Luckily, we're not. Luckily, we're one of the freest nations on the planet, and it goes down day by day. So you need to ask yourself, guys, do you want to think for yourselves? Are you ready to think for yourself? Or are you going to continue to let people think for you? Okay? That's what it all comes down to. Anyways, I know each and every one of you will make the right decision. I love y'all. Have a great day. Peace.